This is when you have to work with averages, but you're actually getting the average, but you're going backwards. It says Jason wants at least a 94% in math. So he will get an A on his report card. He has taken 2 100-point tests so far. He got a 95 and a 91. What must he get on his third test to reach the 94% average? Hint, draw the average skeleton. What is an average skeleton? Well, if you have 3 numbers, say you've taken 3 tests. Say you get an 85, and the next test you get a 93, and the next test you get a 61. And I say, well, what's your average? When you get an average, what do? First thing you do, you add them all up. You add them all up, and that will give you what's the answer to an adding problem called? Sum, S-U-M, sum. And then what's the next thing you do? You take the sum, and you add, subtract, multiply, or divide. To get an average, you add them up and then divide. So you take the sum and divide it by the number of numbers there are. And that gives you the AVG average. Now stand to the left so they can see that. Now, a lot of people think the abbreviation for average is AVE, but it's not, because AVE stands for Avenue. So that's not, it's AVG for average. So that is called your average skeleton. And see, there's our skeleton, and he's saying, hey, I'm not just your average skeleton. He's not just this is your average skeleton. And he's saying, hey, I'm not just your average skeleton, I'm special. Okay, then, so if we're doing this problem about Jason and his math problem, and that are average, then you write the average skeleton, and then you write a blank one with no words in it. So draw a blank one with no words in it. Now, you might be wondering, why did he call this an average skeleton? Because a skeleton is the bone, your bones with no meat on it. This is a skeleton because it's got the setup, the structure, but there's no numbers in it. So that's just a skeleton of a problem. There's no numbers in it, no meat on it. Average skeleton. So now, on this blank average skeleton, we're going to work this problem. You read the problem and see what average did Jason want to get. What average did Jason, can you zoom in on the problem so they can see the problem? He wanted to get a 94%. So that's the average. Would you put that up top, outside, inside, or under? Up top, because it's the average, but don't put the percent sign, just put the 94. Then we have to get the number of numbers, or how many tests were given. Well, if you read the last sentence, what must he get on his third test? That means there's going to be 3 tests altogether. That's the number of numbers there are. So you put that on the outside. Now, if you know the top and you know the outside, how do you get the inside? Times them. Times 94 we need a calculator. Would you get a calculator? I have one. Oh, 94 times 3.
What was the last one?
Should be 282. So you put that in there. Well, according to the average skeleton, that's called the
dividend.
Sum. And where else does the sum go? Under. So put 282 under up. Now, it gave us 2 scores already, a 95 and a 91. So put a 95 and a 91 there, and an empty box for the third score, because we don't know what it is. Now, when you were in the first grade, maybe? Yeah, I think first grade, they gave you problems like this. Empty box plus 3 equals 5. What goes in the empty box? 2. You subtracted these 2. So the difference now is you're going to add these 2 together, 95 plus 91. Whatever you get, subtract it from that, and it tells you what goes in the home. It tells you what goes in the home. What goes in the home? Now, what'd you get when you added them up? 186. So yeah, she added those up and got 186. So now you subtract that from 282. You get 96. And you get 96. So the answer to this problem is 96. He would have to get a 96 on his third test in order to end up with a 94% average. Right, Mr. Skeleton? You're supposed to answer me. Right. Okay.